Well, hello, good evening. How are we all? Our apologies for that slow start. I was having glitches left, right, and centre. I'm not sure what was going off. But here we are. Hope you're all well and looking forward to tonight's live. Hello, Kathleen. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm not sure what. I never know. I never know. And now I've got a delay on something or other. Anyway, we'll press on. Hello, Joanna. Thanks so much for being here. Hello, Kim. Oh, I'm sorry. I think you need to get your priorities straight. You can't rush off to a meeting, how very dare you? Hi, Sue. Hi, Joanna. We had snow this morning, yesterday morning, and it was extremely cold and frosty this morning. I had to scrape my windscreen and everything. Yeah, bitterly cold. They did warn us it was coming, but you never quite believe them. But yeah, it was -1 this morning, so yeah, not fun. Hi, Alison. Hi, Sue. Hi, the other Sue. Hope you're well. So we'll just give people a few minutes to pop on. Hopefully, we'll have a few more. Hello, May. Hi, Joyce. Hi, Sheila. Oh, it's nice to have you all here. Hi, Creative Expressions. Is that Jamie? Hi, Sue. Oh, that sounds nice. Snuggled under a blanket. Aren't we lucky that we have warm places to be? I often think about the poor homeless people when it's like this. Yeah, it makes me stop moaning. Hi, Jamie. Excuse me. Oh, I'm not 100% today. Just a bit under the weather myself. But anyway. Okay. So, tonight we're going to have a look at the Creative Expressions Masculine Collection, which I took on to Hobby Maker last Saturday, and then it was launched to stockists the following Tuesday, which was just 2 days ago, and it's had a huge response. It's done so well. It's gone out to lots of stockists. I think more stockists than I've ever known before, which is lovely because it shows how well received this collection really has been. And sorry. Yeah, so tonight I thought we'll have another little look at it. We'll have a closer look at all the little elements. And then rather than spend ages showing you all the samples, I'll show you some of my demos that I did on Hobby Maker, and also ones I didn't get to do. I always have spares anyway. We always make sure we've got lots to go at should we need it. So I've got spares. But also I'd like to look at more of the detail of some of the bits and bobs that I did. Because sometimes those are the bits that give you the bit of inspiration, aren't they? So, and it's nice on a live like this to be able to give you more detail. So that's what I thought we'd do tonight. But if you missed the Hobby Maker shows, you can watch them until the end of tomorrow. So tomorrow's your last chance to catch up with them. If you go to hobbymaker.co.uk and look for the program guide and then go back to Saturday, you'll be able to find them. So if you do want to catch up, you can do it that way. And also, all of the samples are available to view at the Creative Expressions website. So if you go there and have a look for the Masculine Collection and then scroll down, and you'll be able to see all the samples So lots and lots of inspiration. So I just felt you perhaps would change things up a little bit tonight. You didn't need to see me go through all the samples again, although they are beautiful, stunning, and a real variety. So I think it's nice that you can go back and have a look at those, and you can, that way you can stare at them as long as you want and pick out all the bits you like and that sort of thing. So it's lovely to be able to do that. Hi Jackie, that's very exciting. Well, hopefully we can inspire you to get the packets open and start stamping. Hi Kath. Oh, sorry, I'm off again. So, first of all, I'm going to just run through all the different bits and pieces in the collection. All the stamp sets, etc. So let's do that. So let me switch my cameras over. You don't have to watch me coughing and spluttering. Okay. So I'm going to start off with our beautiful stencils. We have 3 8x8 stencils, and as we keep reminding you, but obviously we do keep reminding you, but also we have new people coming along all the time, so you might feel we're being repetitive, but it is for the benefit of any newbies that are with us. And if we have newbies, please do pop on and say hello. Don't be shy. We don't bite. We love to know that you're watching and that you're with us, and hopefully we can get you started on your crafting journey. Hi Francoise, how are you doing? Yeah, it's just coming on. It's just at that beginning stage and it's a nuisance. I don't like it. It can do one. Anyway, 8x8 stencils. So this is our toolbox stencil, and it's got all the tools a man or woman could possibly want for doing DIY jobs around the house, or even a professional. You might know somebody that's a professional tradesperson who's familiar with all of these things, but the variety on here is phenomenal. We've got socket sets and spanners, we've got drills and paint rollers and hammers. It's fantastic. Paintbrushes, pliers, screwdrivers, screws. Oh yeah, it's great. I love it. So that's a lovely background. And of course we have got stamp sets that complement all of these stencils as well. So here's our second 8x8. This one is called Glitch, and this is because it's set to go with the gaming set of stamps, which I'll show you shortly. I do love this stencil. I do like stencils, I don't know why, but I do like stencils that are a little bit incomplete, that have these gaps and fade out bits and things like that. I think it's because that's how I use a stencil anyway. If this was full, if it was all squares, I'd still only probably be using a little bit of it. But the fact that it's already done for you is lovely. And the comment was made that this could look like a skyline, like high-rise flats, that sort of thing. Even if you turned it this way up, you could also do that. These could be the windows. You could create the tower blocks, you know, do like a New York skyline type thing. That'd be really cool. So that's your Glitch stencil. And then we've got our tattoo stencil, which is this one, which is gorgeous. And we've got our tattoo bands here. We've got this fabulous butterfly. We've got, I don't know what that is. It's just a symbol, isn't it? But it's really fab. And then we've got some flames, and we've got some more flames here as well. And I was listening to Jamie's live from Monday, and he mentioned that you could make a fireplace with this and I thought that's a brilliant idea. I never thought of that. You're all right, Kim. I couldn't find anybody anyway, so you aren't late. Yeah, so if you made a little fireplace, or perhaps you've got a fireplace stamp and you wanted to put some flames in it, that'd be great, wouldn't it? But I do like these flames, and some of the samples use them to great effect. So those are our 3 8x8 stencils, and those retail for £6.99 each. Okay, So I'll move on now and we'll show you the stamps that complement those. So we've got 2 A5 stamp sets. This is our Man About Town. So this is all about men's clothing, men's accessories, men's styling. We've also got some lovely steampunky elements here, and we've got this very cute little turtle fella in his sports car. Absolutely lovely. His little face, he's really happy with himself, look. And then we've got lots of detail in here. I've actually stamped this set out just partly to show you what it comes with and to show you how beautifully these do stamp. The quality of these is fabulous. They are photopolymer stamps, which is really high quality for a clear stamp, and it gives great detail. So you can see all of those elements here, how they stamp. We've got some silhouette type stamps, they're the solid type, so sometimes they can be tricky to stamp, but with the right ink pad and the right stamp, you shouldn't have any problems. We've got a fabulous wristwatch that I've stamped upside down, sorry about that. We've got this lovely sort of Converse style boot prints, and a tyre track, all sorts going, absolutely loads of elements on that set. So that is our Man About Town, and you've even got like socks and undies, you've got a tie, it's fabulous. So that's that one. And then we've got our sports, which covers just about every sport you could think of. And we have a fantastic selection of sports balls, sports bats, golf clubs. We've got dartboard and darts. We've got skittles, and we've got a skateboard and weights and a trophy. So absolutely brilliant. Tennis, snooker, pool, all covered here, rugby. It's really, really cool. So that's another A5 set, and the A5 stamp sets sell for $15.99. So those are your 2 larger stamp sets. Then we'll move on to our A6, and I'm going to show you this one first, and I'm going to bring back that stencil with the tools on it so you can see how beautifully these are going to coordinate. So we've got our tool background there. Now on this stamp set we've got the tool carry case, a drill, a hammer, a screwdriver. I love this folding ruler, and honestly the detail is absolutely amazing on these. Just have a look at all the little measurements and the little screws and everything in that. It's brilliant. Then we've got some nuts and screws, nuts and bolts here, a paint roller, and then we've got the beer and the pub section. So we've got a nice beer bottle, a couple of glasses, pint pots that you can clink, and the bar open sign. So that is your toolbox stamp set, and that's an A6. Then we bring in our game over set, and this is what the glitch stencil coordinates with, but of course it doesn't have to, you can use it with whatever you like, but obviously the glitch suits all the kind of techno stuff in this set. So with this one we've got our Space Raider arcade machine, we've got some more sort of tattoo-esque flames and a tattoo motif. We've got musical symbols, we've got the hand, a dollar sign, an arrow, all things that, you know, pop up on the screen when you are gaming. We've got this lovely checkerboard border, which would work really well with the car with the turtle as well. And then this little sort of face, sort of, it could be a character from one of the games, that I suppose. And then we've got the handset and the headphones. So if you know anybody that's into gaming, it's unusual, very unusual to find stamps with this theme on it. So I think that's another thing that's really brilliant about this collection, that it does bring things that are a little more unusual. Hi Christine, I hope you're all right. So that's it's called Game Over. And the A6 stamp sets, they're going to retail at £9.99. And it's worth it because you get such a lot on there. Now with that one, I'm going to bring in one of the sentiment sets. And this is the Game On sentiments. But they really, although they will work really well with this, there are lots which suit lots of other things, but I really like this one. Error 404, get well soon. It's like something's gone wrong, you know, you're not very well. I think that's so clever, I love it. Then we've got Level Up, Game On, which obviously is going to suit, that's the sort of thing that you get popping up in your game, don't you? But really all the others would suit any other thing. You've got Racing By to say best wishes or happy birthday. We've got To a Dapper Chap and Cool Dude, Happy Father's Day. They're going to suit the man's collection with the clothing as well. So this is a really, really super variety of sentiments that are going to suit all sorts of occasions. You are an original. Love that. Adventure awaits, follow your dreams, another lap around the sun, time to rev up some fun. So a lovely, lovely selection. And again, different sentiments that are different. And it's really hard to do that. So it's lovely that these have appeared as if by magic. Okay, and then another of the sentiment sets is this one, which is called Sports Sentiments. But again, it doesn't have to only be with the sports, does it? It'll fit the gaming and it will fit the sports. So I'll bring the sports back. We've got Champ. You could swap the flag on the golf pole for that and put the Champ on there instead. You've got From Your Number One Fan, To a Sport Mad, Bro, Uncle, Brother. There's all sorts of male sentiments on here which are really, really cool. We've got For a Very Special, and then you can add whatever. And you've got Father, Dad, Pa, Pop, which again are unusual. We can have Grandpa, Granddad, Daddy, Son, Nephew, and then we've got Have a Ball, On Your Birthday, and World's Greatest. So again, a really lovely selection of sentiments that are just that little bit different, and it's really nice to see. And it's also really nice to have the sports motifs, but something that actually works with them as well. Because sometimes that's a challenge, isn't it, making everything fit together. So I'm really, really happy with those, and I've had great fun working with them. I really, really did enjoy my shows on Hobby Maker on Saturday, and as I say, they did go down exceptionally well. And now we have our DL stamps, and if I haven't said it before, or if you haven't heard me say it before, or Jamie say it before, all of these DL stamps are pattern match stamps, which means that the pattern here matches the pattern here, and so you can move the stamp across and you can continue the pattern and there won't be any breaks in the pattern. Not only, but also it matches top to bottom, so you can stamp it and make a big background panel should you wish to. So if you are somebody that likes to do scrapbooking, or perhaps you just want a bigger background for a bigger card, or perhaps you want a background to frame something, perhaps a photograph or something like that, that's where these really come into their own. And again, this one is sort of made to team up with our gaming set, but it could equally be really useful for somebody who is a tradie. It might be an electrician that would fit really nicely, and it would be so unique, wouldn't it? I think if you make cards to sell and you make a set of these up, they're going to fly because people won't have seen anything like this before, and I think that's fab. So, and it's getting harder, isn't it, to come up with unique ideas within the craft world. I love this one. This is our roadmap DL stamp, and obviously you can have it any way you like. And again, you've got that pattern matchability. If you check out the roads on this side, you'll see that they line up perfectly with this side. So does this edge with this edge. So you can make it a little bit longer, you can make it wider, you can make it as big as you like. But the detail in this is stunning. And I have actually stamped this out as well, just to let you see how clear it is when you stamp it. Isn't that just superb? And then you can colour this and really bring it alive. I had to look up if there were specific rules for map colours, and there are. So you get black for the roads, green for parkland and open space, blue for water, and then I think it's red for residential or something like that. I can't remember, but there are certain rules to follow, but that don't mean you have to. But we did have a sample, and I think it was from Christine. Forgive me if I'm wrong, it might have been Laura, but she'd coloured it absolutely beautifully, and it really, really did make it come alive. It was superb. So again, check out the samples on the Creative Expressions website, and you can go to this collection, the masculine collection, and you'll be able to find all the samples on there. So it's worth having a look, because they were absolutely brilliant. The creativity from RDT is second to none. It's so lovely. All right, and then our third DL stamp is our tyre tracks. Now these DL stamps are going to retail at $11.99. Oh, Christine, was it you? Yes, I did that. Ordnance Survey. In my head, I thought they tend to be pink and green, don't they? A lot of it. But I couldn't remember about the other things, different colours of roads and that sort of thing. But it's really interesting when you go and have a look into it. I've always been interested in cartography. But anyway, we digress. So this is our tyre tracks one. And again, although this looks quite random and quite sketchy, it still pattern matches across. So if you have a look at these two tracks here, it matches up with these two here. It doesn't look as though it would, but they do, because it sort of continues at an angle like that, which is this one, and this one from there. It's absolutely, they're so clever. I've no idea how they do it. It's really, really good. So again, you can extend it this way, and this way, to make a much bigger pattern. And again, I've stamped this one out just so you can have a look at just how clearly all that detail becomes visible when you stamp it out. Isn't it fab? And don't forget, with a DL stamp, not only can you go bigger, but you can obviously go smaller. So you could just have a little square piece if you wanted to, cut it down. So really super. So 3 of those, 3 DL stamps, all with pattern matching capabilities, and I think you'll agree, unique, really quite special. So there are your 3 DLs. We've got tyre tracks, road map, and circuit board. So that's the whole collection. And we obviously felt, when we were looking at these and we were putting the show together, that it made absolute perfect sense, if we've got a road map and we've got tyre tracks, that we need vehicles. So yes, we've got our lovely little turtle fella in his car. He's going to work really well with either of these two, the road map and the tyre tracks. But also, we felt that the vintage travel collection was perfect to bring back out and use alongside this collection. So when we were putting the show together, we decided we were going to have the vintage motorbike, the vintage car. You can see where we're going with this, can't you? The vintage train, which I've just thrown on the floor. Excuse me a sec. There we go. And the vintage suitcases. I love these dies, and I'm going to show you a few little bits of tricks with these as we go along. So we put those in the show as well. So if you've already got these in your stash and you haven't seen the shows, just a suggestion that you might like to dig them out of retirement if that's what you've done with them. Although I don't know why, because I use them all the time. They're great. And then we also felt that it would be nice to have some DL panel dies. So we brought out some of Sue's triple aperture dies. Oh, sorry, the lights are really shiny, aren't they? So we had the inner scallop, so the scallop points into the middle of the window. The outer scallop, the scallops are embossed and cut to the outside of the window. But these two nest together as well. So these were really perfect for these little stamp sets, for you to be able to fill the windows with all the little detail stamps in whichever theme you wanted to. So again, these are still available, I think, with a good price on them. If not, track them down with your stockists. And then we also brought back the lovely slimline shadow box die. I used this when I did my fishing collection as well, and we decided to bring it out for this collection because it's just perfect. And there are some lovely samples with little bits in all these little windows, and of course you can alter these by snipping out some of the dividers, by shortening it wherever you want, you know. So really versatile die sets. But have a look at your own die sets as well and see what you've got that might suit. And don't forget, if you've got these slimline dies, then the next obvious addition is going to be Jamie Rogers Crafts DL nesting dies. Now mine are flying off the back sheet, sorry. I must get these set onto magnetic sheets. If you haven't seen these yet, you're missing a treat. We have 5 edges, and these are the same edges that you get in all the nesting sets. So we've got the plain, and you get, what do we get? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 dies in that set with the plain edges. Then we have our postage edge with the dash. So postage and dash. This is an extra special little set. The dash edge is separate from the cutting edge, so you can use it independently, but you can mix it across all of the other sets as well. Hi Leslie, hi Maureen. Then we have our scallop and pierced, and again we've got the pierced edge, which is independent. You can use that across all of the sets. You can mix and match, or you can just use it on its own, and it'll just put a pierced frame into the cardstock, so you can add a detail without having to add an extra layer, which is really cool. Then we've got our decal and stitch, and this is lovely. A tiny little sort of torn edge, and then we've got the little stitch, and this is different from the postage and dash, which is a much bigger line. So again, you've 3 different options of swapping out those edges in this set. And then we've got the fluted, which has got that lovely kind of Victorian wavy edge. So again, we put these on the show, and boy oh boy did they fly out. I think there must have been a lot of people who hadn't seen them and could see the potential in these. So you guys are really lucky, because if you watch us every week or every now and then, you'll see all this stuff, but there are people out there who haven't seen it, and that was another reason why we thought it was important to introduce it to Hobby Maker, and we're very glad we did. People were loving it. So there we are, and these are going to work perfectly with these. So I'm going to show you bits and bobs with these as we go along. In fact, tonight is a night of bits and bobs. I'm going to show you a bit of this, bit of that, bit of the other. I will do some demos as well, but I just wanted to show you those and give you some options for putting your own collection together, because it's really lovely to be able to do that as well. Alright, so where shall we start? Well, first of all, I'll show you a few samples. This was the one I did on last week's live, So if you weren't here, it was just a simple folded card with a front panel that stands out, and that way it will stand up on its own. And then I've used the tool stencil for the background. I've used a couple of the tools from the stamp set, and I've also used that scallop die, but I've only used 2 of the windows. So if you have a look, it was the other one actually. Where's it gone? This one. So this is the outer scallop, and I've just used 2 of the windows instead of all 3. So that's something else you can do with those dies. And then some of the sentiments are from the set, and also I've got happy birthday there. So, and of course using the lovely foundations cardstock throughout. Right, I'm sitting in a pickle. Let me sort myself out. It doesn't take long, does it, to get in a pickle? Okay. I think all of the other samples, I've got bits I want to show you. So let's get started with doing that, shall we? So this one, I did demo this on Saturday. I really like this card. It's quite simple, but it's showing how to incorporate those triple aperture dies with the DL nesting dies, and then the sports set, and sorry, I'm not with it tonight at all, am I? Where's it gone? I've lost all the sets. The tools. So from the tools set, I've used the bar open and the 2 pint pots. And then I've also used from the sports set the golf bag, the golf flag, and the golf ball. So they mix and match really nicely. And in my head I'm thinking, cause my husband, well, he used to play golf, he doesn't so much anymore, but you know, I was thinking of the 19th hole, because that's where they always end up, don't they? You know, around the golf and then into the bar. So I thought that went really well together. But what I really wanted to show you with this card was those lovely nesting dies, because I've got them cut here. I'm sorry, this camera is really changing the colours. Let's try that. So this is the beautiful marigold from the foundations. It's not quite as citrusy as that looks on, well, on my screen anyway. But these are the 2 nesting dies that I was just talking about. So I wanted to show you those. So this one, this is how it cuts out. And it embosses a lovely little scallop detail around all of the apertures, and it cuts out these little semicircles, but it doesn't have an outside cutting edge, so your border can be as big as you like. This is the inner scallop, and this one, if you have a look, it cuts these little scallops facing into the window, and it embosses a line around the window as well. And it also embosses the edge of the die itself, so if you wanted some guide to perhaps sit a frame over that, that's quite helpful, but not essential. But when you put these 2 together and you stack them, that's when the magic happens, because you get the inner scallops perfectly seated within each of the outer scallop windows, so you can nest them together perfectly. And then if you use one of the DL nesting dies from Jamie, you can cut that with whichever edge you like. I chose the scallop because it matched, but you don't have to. I also used the scallop and the piercing edge together. So I converted that into this, and that's how I got my mat for my card. So I just wanted to show you that part of that demo. If you want to see that demo in full, as I say, tomorrow is your last chance to catch up on hobbymaker.co.uk and look for the programme guide. And you can watch that demo. So I've already done it. I'm not doing it in full again. But if you've any questions, if there's bits you don't understand, bits I haven't explained very well, or you've missed please do pop a comment in or a question in, and I'll do my best to answer it for you. Okay, so another one that I did on Saturday was this one, and this was using that lovely road map and bringing in some of the elements from the Man About Town collection. We've got some of the sentiments, and we've got our fabulous vintage motorbike. So I thought it might be nice, if you hadn't seen it before, to show you how to use these dies, because they are really superb. So I've got my vintage motorbike, and I'm going to cut this out of black cardstock. These dies are specially produced with a lot of etching detail. So when you put them through the machine, not only do they cut, but they also come out with an awful lot of embossed detail. Absolutely gorgeous. So I'm going to actually cut that through the machine and let you see what that looks like. Sometimes the pressure in our machines does vary a lot, so if you find yours doesn't give a very deep emboss, although I haven't had any bother, but it might happen. You can run it back through with a rubber mat just to enhance that embossing should you need to. It shouldn't be necessary, but sometimes these things happen, don't they? So let's get this out. And you can see all that fabulous etched detail. There's some bits just to poke out, and the bits in the tyres need to come out. But how lovely is that? And this is the vintage motorbike, and this is from the Vintage Travel collection. So not only can you find samples with this, featuring this, but you can find this featuring with this masculine collection as well, and there were some superb samples from the DT with these as well, and from Jamie. Jamie did some lovely stuff with this. And you could use your road map stamp in the background, or you could use your tyre tracks in the background, or not if you don't want to. So there we have it. Just let me show you this a bit closer. I'm not sure if we can see the embossing being on the black, but I'm going to do something with it in a minute that will hopefully make it stand out. You can see some of it, can't you? It's lovely. Maureen, is it the Vintage Travel collection you're trying to find? I'm going to give you a list of stockists for the masculine collection. It may be that some of them have stocked up with these at the same time if they liked them. So it might be worth chatting with your local stockist. I don't know if Jamie will have that information to hand for this collection now, because it's a while since it was released to trade. But I'm sure he'll be able to help if he can. So that's how it comes out. And then what I want to do now is enhance this with some of the beautiful metallic waxes. Well, one of them. I'm just going to use the Silver Star. So again, just in case you're not familiar with these. Oh, the tyre track and the road map. Yes, well, I'll give you a list of stockists very soon, Maureen. And then you'll be able to chase them down, hopefully. So these are an oil-based wax, so they're very creamy, very smooth. They don't disintegrate into powdery chunks like a paraffin wax does. They might feel they've gone hard, but that's because they're cold. If you create a bit of friction by rubbing them or warm it on your hand, they'll become a lot more pliable. So don't panic if you feel they've gone hard in the jar. They are hard. It's like a cake of wax. So don't panic about that. They're still going to work perfectly fine. So I use these finger daubers. I find them really cool because they're quite firm. So when I start to go over this now, it only picks up the highlights from that beautiful detail in the embossing, and just do little circular motions. So can you see now the difference between where I've put the wax and you can start to see all those amazing etched lines. Aren't they fabulous? Just love them. And I never get tired of doing this, because it's just that reveal every time you do it. I just love it. So I'll just finish this off, and then again I can show you the card. I did do the demo for it on Hobby Maker, so as I say, you can watch that back till the end of tomorrow. I think after that they do go onto YouTube, so you can still find them if you don't get a chance to look tomorrow, but I find it a bit harder to find them on YouTube. I think they are better now at giving them a proper title. It makes them a bit easier to find. There we go. So just a couple of minutes of effort, and we've now got a stunning waxed polished motorbike. How gorgeous is that? And this is the same technique that will work with any of the vintage travel collection, because they're all those super deep etched dies, which is a really special process and does cost more, and it also takes longer, so very special indeed. All right, so if I now go back to the card, you'll be able to see now the bike that I've created to go on this card. I did give that 2 coats of the silver wax, which you can do. Leave it a few minutes just to harden up a little bit, and then you can go back and give it a second coat, or you can add a second colour. You can mix the colours of the waxes together. These are elements from the Man About Town. So if I just grab that set and show you what I've picked out. So I've used this kind of stopwatch affair here, and I've stamped that onto a cog cut with the circles, the nesting circles, with the postage edge, so it looks like a cog. And then 2 of the little cogs are from this little stamp here, and then I've used the tyre track background and the road map background and done some inking. Again, that was a demo that I did, so you can find that one and watch it in full if you'd like to. Okay, and then moving on, this is another one that I wanted to show you because I didn't get a chance. We don't always get the time to really show you everything we've done, but I felt I wanted to create a Christmas card with the train. It had connotations with a famous movie, and I thought it would work really nicely, so this was what I came up with. And I've used the road map stamp in the background. You can just see it there, but I only wanted it quite pale, so I've stamped that in elephant grey ink. I've cut the train and waxed it with copper and a touch of silver. The steam that comes with the train I've waxed with silver. But what I wanted to show you was these trees that I've used. This is from Sue Wilson's latest Christmas collection, and she did these 3 snowy trees. And I just wanted to show you how I've achieved that effect, because I didn't get time to show it properly on Saturday. So it might be frustrating for you watching and thinking, well, how's she done that? She's not shown us. So I do apologise, but sometimes that's just the way it goes, unfortunately. So first of all, I want to show you how I've cut 2 layers of the tree to get the effect I want. So what I've got here is a piece of card just big enough for the smallest tree, so I've sized it to fit. And then this is a piece of double-sided adhesive sheet, which you can find in the Jamie Rogers Craft collection, and it comes with 2 release papers, so you can remove one of them and that reveals the sticky there, and then this is the second one, so it's like a sandwich with the sticky film in the middle. So I'm going to take one side off and I'm going to apply this to my piece of card. Okay, so now I've got a piece of card to support it and I've got sticky on the front. Now, when these trees cut out, they cut the outline like this. And you get all the little pieces as well, which you can piece back in. But I wanted a solid background for what I wanted to do. So what I've done, I've got my piece with the adhesive, and I'm putting that facing the die. So I've got my sticky adhesive, well, it's got its protective paper still there. Then I've got a second piece of card, and I'm going to cut these both together, and that's going to give me a backing plate for my tree. So let me run those through together. Now you could do this with a contrasting colour cardstock, you could do it with mirror card. There are lots of ways to create this lovely effect. And then what will happen is it will cut the front piece, but it won't be able to cut all the detail in the second piece. In fact, it hasn't really cut that very well at all. So I might just run that through one more time. Just bear with me a minute. There we go, that's a little better. So then you can just wiggle it, and you might need to do a little bit of snipping. It's not cut at all, that one. Normally it cuts it really well. There we are. You just need to wiggle it. There'll be a few bits. If the pattern's too intricate, it can't cope and it won't be able to cut. But it hasn't cut all the little pieces on the middle. So it's a great way to get a backing drop for anything, any sort of open die. Okay, so that's how I've got the trees I wanted. And then this one has got the sticky on the front of it, remember? So if I just push this out of the die, and you'll be able to see all the little pieces in the middle. You could use those for something else, but I just wanted the outline. So this outline is now made with a self-adhesive sticky surface. Does that make sense? That was a bit of a mouthful, wasn't it? And that's the bit I wanted. Okay. And I'm now going to glitter that to create my lovely tree. So let me find my glitter, a bit of paper. I'm going to use the beautiful emerald green gemstones glitter. And I'm going to take the backing paper off this tree to reveal the sticky of it. There we go. So remember, this was a layer of card and a layer of adhesive. The card was there to support it, because without the card it would it wouldn't really have any support. So I'm just going to coat this in this beautiful colour. Oh, it's stunning and really sparkly. I love these glitters. So I'm just burnishing this onto the adhesive surface with my finger. I always feel you get a better sparkle if you get your fingers in and rub it down really firmly with your fingers. Okay. Just tap off any loose bits. And now we've got a lovely just a little bit missing there. A lovely sparkly green Christmas tree. Now you can use it like that on its own. You can cut the tree again and use all the little white infill bits to put back in, or make it snowy with white glitter, or with Francois snowy speckly, I can't remember what it's called. Oh my goodness, sorry, I shall have to look now. Oh man, hasn't got a label on. That's not very helpful, is it? I can't tell you what it's called. Anyway, snow dots. I want to call them snow dots, but that's not what it's called. But they're lovely, and they look fantastic on a snowy tree. But I'm just going to add here this outline to my white backdrop that I cut using that method of cutting 2 layers at the same time. The other option, of course, to get something is to cut it out by hand, which would be an absolute nightmare with a very intricate shape, wouldn't it? So doing it this way, it's really clever. So just a wiggle of blue, mainly focusing around the edges, but a little bit down the centre as well. And then we can pop our green outline onto that. And it sits perfectly. All the little sections are embossed into the card. You've got lines that help you position it. It's fab. So you can just get that absolutely bob on. And now we've got a lovely snowy white tree. Snow sprinkles, thank you, that's it. The white speckly stuff I was on about is called snow sprinkles, and this is it. These little gorgeous little snowy discs. Isn't it lovely? So you could use that as well to create your tree, which is really cool. So now we've got a sparkly tree with a white middle looking like a snowy tree, and then I've got the card here partially done with all the elements apart from just that last one little tree, because I wanted to show you how I'd done it. So there we go. I told you it was going to be a bit bitty tonight. I hope you don't mind. But sometimes it's nice just to do a bit of this and a bit of that. Oh, Julie's Crafts. They're on it. They're really good. They're a good stockist. So if you're anywhere near Ellesmere Port or on the Wirral, up that way, Julie's Crafts is the one for you. I've been there twice, I think now. Have I been twice? Yes, I have. It's lovely. They're a lovely, lovely group. And Julie works really hard to keep the shop well stocked. So, as do all of the stockists, of course. So I'm just going to pop this to one side and complete our Christmas scene with the train. So there you go, and you can see here as well I've used the glitch stencil to dry emboss my cardstock. Hi Lane! So that's just one more little technique, just these little hints and tips we sometimes miss, don't we, when we're whizzing through a big project and we don't always see the detail. So I thought tonight might be nice just to revisit those bits and bobs. So I hope that's alright for everybody. Okay, now this was another one I did on Saturday using the men's outfit collection. I'm on about town, this one. So I've used the trousers, I've used the short sleeved t-shirt, and then I've also teamed that up with the tattoo stencil and the tattoo style stamps from the Game On set. So this I've used here and here, and in the stencil I've used Jamie's Gemstones Glitter texture paste in the black onyx, and I've used this border down this side here, you see that, and then I've used these flames up this side here, but I flipped it. I just felt it suited it better that way around. Don't ask me why, but I felt that, so that's what I did. So that's how I've created the background for this. But what I wanted to show you about this card was how to change up the outfits of this, because there are so many options for doing that. So I've got my t-shirt stamped. I'm going to show you two different things here. So I've got a little piece of paper and I just need to find the stamp. I'm getting all in a tizzy here. Alright, So I need a stamping block. I'm going to do it by hand rather than in the platform. So let's do this. Oh, that's not big enough. Get me a bigger one. And I'm going to stamp with Versifying Clay, which is a permanent black. I'm going to stamp it on this. This is just a little bit of scrap paper, just a little bit of copy paper. Okay. And then I'm also going to stamp it on a piece of grey cardstock. And I decided I wanted to use one of the sort of tattoo type stamps to add more detail onto this t-shirt. T-shirts quite often have motifs across the chest of them, don't they? But if I take that tattoo stamp as it is and stamp it across there like that, it's going to go onto the sleeves, which is going to look a bit weird. So instead of doing that, I've decided to use a mask, and that's what this little scrap is for, to cover up the sleeves. And this is a really cool stamping technique when you need it. So I'm going to just take off the sleeves. I don't even need to cut them out properly, because I'm just going to position them over there like that, just to cover them up. So depending what technique you're doing, sometimes you do have to cut your mask out properly. But this is a great way to create dimension within your stamped images. And hopefully at some point I'll be able to show you that in more detail. So I've got my two sleeves covered up. Now you can tape those in place if it helps. Just get a little piece of masking tape. Just hold them down and then you're not worried they're going to slip around. Okay, try and be accurate with your positioning. Makes all the difference. Put this one down as well. Take that one up there. Oops, that moved a little bit. There we go. Okay. Now I can bring in that little tattoo stamp. And I can stamp it across the chest of this t-shirt. So, keep the sleeves in place. Choose your positioning carefully. I'm going right across the sort of chest part of the shirt. Okay. And then when we take these off, obviously the sleeves have stayed protected and clean by covering them up. So now we've got a t-shirt with a pattern on it. Then you can cut that out, and that's how I've got this effect on the t-shirt. So that's one way. Another way is to actually stamp the t-shirt onto some pattern paper, and because I had been working with Francois's autumn collection, I had some bits of the paper left over, and I thought that'd make a really cool t-shirt. So I've stamped the t-shirt on some cardstock, and then I've stamped it on this paper and then cut it out. And the reason I've used two is so that it's got a bit of support, again, a bit like the tree. So it's not just paper, it's got some support, and then if you want to put foam pads on it, you can lift it up. But isn't that a cool t-shirt? I love it. And you could also then add the tattoo if you wanted to. I also saw one of the samples that Laura did, which was gorgeous, and what she'd done was use this stamp and she'd stamped some flames coming up the bottom of the t-shirt, and it looked really cool. So perhaps go and have a look for that on the Creative Expressions website as well. Have a look for the masculine collection, and then work your way through all the beautiful samples that are on there. But I just thought that was a really lovely way. And I thought as well it would look nice even on the other side. So although this has got leaves on it, once you stamp that shirt onto it, you don't really notice what the pattern is. And it just looks great. So this opens up a whole world of possibilities. You could do outfits for every day of the week, couldn't you? I mean, my husband lives in t-shirts. He very rarely wears anything else, so cut that a bit fine, haven't I? So I'll have to go up there a bit. So I'll just stamp that down. And then, obviously, once you cut it out and you get rid of all that surround that you don't want, then it just really comes alive. I have to be careful because this ink takes a little while to dry, so I don't want to smudge it. But I just want to show you this really cool technique. And this is something I love to do, and I know Françoise loves to do it, and with Norman, with all her lovely Normans in the woodwear collection, she quite often uses paper piecing to create outfits for Norman, and that's a really lovely way as well. So I won't cut it all out, but you sort of get the idea how that's going to make a really cool t-shirt. You see the pattern on it? You wouldn't really know that it was a leaf. It's just a sort of smudgy tie-dye kind of pattern. And then if you wanted to, you could have a different t-shirt for your cool dude. Isn't that lovely? So you can go off and make yourselves the whole outfits now for your man about town and have some fun making up different sorts of t-shirts, different coloured trousers. It's also nice to do the trousers differently, and on my other one I used the same method, but I stamped the trousers onto the crushed velvet paper. Can you see that? And then cut them out so they look like crushed denim almost. I thought that was a really nice effect. So yeah, lots of options, lots of fun to be had dressing up somebody. I better not go any further down that road, had I? Alright, so those are all the bits and pieces that I didn't really get to explain fully on Saturday, and I just wanted to go back and have another little refresh with some of those ideas. So there we are. Now then, have we got any questions? I am about to launch you into the world of stockists. So somebody's having trouble. Is it Gillies Crafts website that isn't working? They may just be doing a little bit of maintenance. Perhaps try again in the morning. So, right, I'll come back and say hello. Alright, so we have, as I say, a record number of stockists, I think, who have taken this collection. I don't know if they've taken any of the accessories, so like the vintage travel collection and the Sue Wilson DL dies, but it's always worth asking them if you want to speak to them, or you can send them a message and just say, oh, by the way, have you got this as well? That might be a good way to find it. But anyway, let me run through the people who have got this. They should already have it in stock because we aim to get it to them by the Tuesday of Stockist launch day. So they should have it, and yeah, hopefully it's selling really well. So if there is something you want, perhaps wouldn't hang about, get onto them as soon as possible. But these are the people who've ordered it. So we have Into Craft, Gillies Crafts, Affordable Crafting, Cheshire Crafts, Dragon's Paper Crafts. Have you heard your favourite yet? Hazel's Crafts, Glitter Bits Crafts and Gifts. I've been there too. I'd love one day to be able to say I've been to all these shops and done demo days for them. Wouldn't that be special? Unicorn Crafts, The Craft Box, Craft Mania, Craft Bliss, been there. The Stamp Hut, And of course, it is still available through Hobby Maker. So if you really are stuck, you can't find it at your local stockist or their website, perhaps have a look at Hobby Maker and see if they've still got it. They will also have, I think, I'm right in saying, the accessories that I've talked about. So the vintage travel, the DL, triple aperture dies, and we had all the nesting dies on the show, so they might well have some of those still available as well. So if you wanted to say the DL nesting dies that I've just been talking about, it's worth looking there. But we really would encourage you to support your local stockists, because obviously they need to make their sales as well. But if you're really struggling, then yeah, obviously have a look at Hobby Maker and see if you can find which it is you desperately need. All right, so shall we do some more demos? I think we will. Let's have a look. So I want to show you something with the other style of the Man About Town collection. So this is much more vintage, this is a bit more steampunky, and yeah, just a different style really. So I'm going to start by doing some stenciling. So I'm going to be using the Glitch, and I'm going to use a distress ink pad to stencil through onto this piece of card. The card is bigger than I need, so I can cut it down afterwards. I'm just going to check. Yeah, it's big enough. This is Coconut White from the Foundations collection, and I'm just going to pop my stencil. Actually, I'm going to do it like that so I get some of that fade out area. It's quite like that. If you find you struggle to hold stencils in place, you can always tape it on the back if your card is smaller than your stencil. I like to use the magnetic stenciling boards. I think they're brilliant. So I don't know now where you can get them from. That's the only problem, because I obviously got mine through Creative Expressions when they were in their former guise. Oof, sorry, I'm just trying to get it. There we go. But these are really lovely for stenciling on, because you just add the magnets and it holds it all in place for you. It's really cool. I'm going to just move it up a little bit. Something like that. So you pop your magnets on, and away you go. You don't have to worry about any taping or anything like that. Alright, I'm just checking the comments. So apparently Hobby Maker have got it. They have a few sellout items. Sheila, sadly at the moment I don't have these collections, no. I am trying to keep up, but it's very hard with a limited budget for buying stock, so unfortunately on this occasion I haven't, much as it pains me to say that, but it's the facts. So I'm using frayed burlap from Distress, which is one of my favourite colours of distress ink for vintage projects, and I'm just going to go through the Glitch stencil in little circular motions. Whenever you're doing this, try to remember to go one way and then go back the other way. That way you catch all sides of the little shapes. If you only ever go one way, and it is a technique that I sometimes utilise, if you only go one way, you'll get a harder shadow on one side of all the little shapes. And sometimes that can look really cool, but it wasn't what I wanted for this job. So I'm just going to go all the way across this piece of card, inking these little squares in as I go. I won't do it all because I've got one I did earlier. So I can take off the magnets now, and you can see how quickly that pattern is forming. Okay, so that's a lovely way of creating a quick background, and it's not too hard. So I'm just going to put that out of the way. So once you've done that, and I then cut it with the DL nesting dies, the slimline nesting dies. And now what I want to do is just distress the edges a little bit with a little bit of black ink. So I'm going to use black soot, tap off the excess ink, because if you don't, that's what will end up on here. That's why you'll see me always tap off the excess ink, and then when you go to your project you don't make a huge blob, because they're generally not very attractive. So try to avoid them at all costs. Alright, so I'm just whizzing around the edges. I've already done a bit of it, so hopefully now you can see how that's really brought the edges into focus. So that's how I've created the background. Really quick and easy, but very effective. And then I've got another nesting die, and this time I've brought in the decal and stitch. So can you see? We've got the decal outer cutting edge, and we've got the stitch detail that's pierced into the card. Okay. And obviously, because I've cut this with one of the nesting dies as well, the dimensions are absolutely perfect, and it nests just inside that little stitched edge. So let's get these two stuck together. So I will go through the list of stockists again later on in this live, just to remind you who's got them. So if you can't find them with your local stockist, and you do have to widen your search a little bit, you will know where to look. I do also know that these products have winged their way to some of our, well, I say our, the Royal Hour distributors across the world. So they're going to be enjoying these products very soon as well. So there we've got our first panel done. Okay, and now I need to think about all the elements that I want to dress the card with. I've got, I'm using Foundations cardstock, and I've got the stone and the steel grey, which work really beautifully together. I'm just going to add this panel on with some foam tape. And pop this down. Okay, so now we've got the makings of a card. Always helps. And then I'm going to do a bit of stamping, which I should have done before I did that, but I'm not with it tonight at all. So I'm going to bring in some of these elements. I'm going to be using the stopwatch and the little cogs, and I'm going to stamp directly onto the background with these. So tap tap, lots of tapping when you're inking up a stamp, and always from above. Right, this is going up here, and I'm aiming to do a kind of a collage-y type card here. This might not stamp perfectly because I've got foam tape under there, because I stupidly assembled it, didn't I? Oh, look at that. That's perfect. Happy with that. Okay, let's bring back the little card. So this is a quite what we'd call a silhouette stamp. It's got some solid black areas. So when you're inking it, just check that it's all nice and shiny and wet, and you can see that there's ink everywhere you need it to be. So I'm going to pop one of these down here in the corner. Again, it might not stamp absolutely right. Oh, that's not too bad. I wouldn't recommend constructing your card before you stamp on it. Not a great idea. And then I'm going to try to sort of interlock the little gears and stamp another one. Right. Okay. So we'll let that dry while I do another little bit of stenciling. And this time I'm going to use the tattoo set, and I'm going to use this border here up this side. So again, if I bring back my magnetic board, probably best to do it that way. There we go. So because you can see through this mylar, although it's very thick, you can see through it. So I can see that I'm checking my edges and positioning that just where I want it to be. And then I can snap this down with the magnets. And this time, because this is quite a delicate pattern, I'm going to use an actual stencil brush. So I'm going to get into the detail better with this. I'm going to use the Black Soot Distress, and if you work your brush in circles to pick up the ink, and then just start by stippling. I found some of the elements on these stencils are very delicate. They tend to move, so you have to be a bit careful around them. And that's another reason why I went for a traditional stencil brush, because you can hold it upright, and if you need to be really careful around an element, you can be. So like I can follow the direction of that little scrolly bit without it moving, and then I'm okay, I can move on then. So you can do this with ink, you could do it with some paint, you could do it with the paste, it's entirely up to you. I didn't particularly want shiny paste on it on this occasion, so I chose to do it with a flat ink. And you can work at it a bit longer than I am doing to build up some good strong black colour. I'm just going to hold that with my finger while I go around the tip of it. And this one as well. Just hold it while you get round it. There we go. Just finish up that little bit. Okay. I've done that quite quickly. I would usually spend a little bit more time than that, but we now have a nice little border up the side of the card. Okay. If you feel it's not dark enough when you've taken it off, it's quite easy to reposition and pop it back, and you can go back and do a little bit more should you want to. I'm quite happy with that. Alright, so now I can start to build my card, and I've got various elements done on the craft brown paper that do you still have this, Jamie, or is it all finished? the craft brown paper. But if you can't get the craft brown paper, obviously you could use craft brown cardstock. That's not a problem. And I'm going to use the tire track stamp. So I'm going to bring in the stamping platform now. I'm going to protect my platform with some paper because I'm only stamping on a very small piece of paper, so I don't want to be stamping all over my stamping platform. So we'll hold that down for now, and let me find a stamp. I don't know about you, but when I'm getting stamps off these plastic sheets, they curl up sometimes, don't they, into like a tube. And so what I try to do is take the stamp off the sheet rather than pulling the sheet off the stamp. And I do it gradually, rather than going from one end to the other, which makes it curl up. And then that stays flat then, or flatter. Otherwise it just rolls itself up, doesn't it? Just a little tip there for you. Right, and I want some of the more textural elements of this. So I'm going to go to that part there. So let's get our stamp in position. Like so. Now it's a bit sticky, these stamps are sticky, so it's going to pick that up. And I can't use the magnets because it's only a small piece. So if that's something that worries you, just use a bigger piece and then tear out the bit that you want. But I'm just going to ink up, so it's just this bottom corner. I don't even need to ink the whole stamp. So again, using just part of the stamp, you don't have to use the whole stamp every time you do it. There we go. So now we've got an interesting little panel to do something with. And then I also want to stamp a strip. So I've got some, again, the brown craft paper, and I'm just going to stamp along here. I don't need as much as I've got there, but I'm just going to stamp up the, ink up the stamp rather, and stamp it onto this bit of paper. There we are. So those are the bits I need for that. And then I can create my backdrop. So I've also got a little piece of paper here that's got some text on it. This was actually some wrapping paper that I found that was also on brown paper. And I've just taken, again, the black distress and just distress around the edges like this with a foam applicator this time. That's what I tend to use for that technique. I've torn this strip that I've stamped and I've inked all around the edge of that. And I've torn a piece out of this piece as well. So you don't need all the bits that you've created, you just tear it down to the size you want it to be. And then the ripped edge I'm inking in black. If you don't like black, you could do it in another colour, you could do it in brown. I just quite liked the tire tracks black, so then I wanted to do the edges black as well. Okay, and then I can start to arrange this. So put those bits to one side. So what I wanted to do was have a strip, something going up the side of that, and then the text going across something like that, and then the tire tracks. I'll change it, go that way actually, and then go that way, that's better. Right, so once you're happy with the arrangement that you've got of your bits and pieces, then you can assemble. make it straight, that bit, I think. You get the bigger bottle out, be a bit quicker. All right, good. Yes, so you can get the craft paper, A4, pack of 50. Oh, oops. I pressed the link. I was trying to see the price. Dear me. What's the price, Jamie, please, on that? Right, so let's overlap this paper. And it's just a bit of sort of collage, loosely. Oh heck, hang on, my computer's having a wobble. Sorry about that. Right. Then I've also stamped the hat and cut that out, and I've got some foam on the back of that, so that's going to have a little bit of lift to it. And I'm going to set that at a jaunty angle, like so. And then I need to do a little bit more stamping. So where's my set of stamps again? I love these little stamps. This moustache and the glasses and the bow tie, they're brilliant. So I'm going to use those. And we're going to stamp these directly onto the card again. So I'm going to bring in the moustache. In fact, I could stamp these both at the same time. So let's put the moustache there. Let's get the bow tie underneath it. Line them up. And then get black ink on there. Again, make sure you've got nice even coverage and shiny black. You can see it when it's covered properly. Shouldn't be any little patches or anything like that in it. And let's put these on here. So the craft brown paper is £6.99 for 50 A4 sheets. I think that's amazing value, and it's beautiful stuff. It's much easier to stamp on, I find, than actual cardstock, and you can tear it really easily, and it doesn't add too much weight and extra dimension to your card. It also die cuts beautifully. Obviously you've seen you can stamp directly onto it, so I really like it. I use it a lot. I find myself reaching for it quite a lot. And then we've got To a Dapper Chap, and that's just going to go across the middle there, and there we have it. Our dapper chap about town with his top hat. More of a vintage style, and utilising lots of those elements and stamps. Alrighty. So if we have time, I can do another demo. What do you think? Are you wanting to see the back of me? Shall we just do one more? I have a nice fun little card for you here, if I can remember how I did it. So this is a special fold. I like different folds on cards, and this is sort of a pop-up box card. So when it's in the envelope and it's flat, it's the size of an A2 card, which is 5.5 by 4.25, and then you make your boxes and it pops up, and then it stands, and it can stand that way or it can stand that way as well. So it's a really cool little fold. So I wanted to just show you that, of something a little bit different but actually really simple to do. So let's start with our piece of blank card, You cut the size 10.5 inches by 4.25. So 10.5 by 4.25, and then we're going to score it at 5.5 inches. Are you all jotting this down? And then 6.75. All right, and then 8.75, and then 10. So the piece of card's 10.5 inches. We're going to score at 5.5, 6.75, 8.75, and 10. And then we're going to fold these all in the same direction. Now, you've probably heard me say this before. When you are folding more than one fold in a piece of card, you should always open it out and only fold one line at a time. You get much more accurate folds, and you can also check that your sides are lining up as you go. If you go like this and start rolling it up, you don't get such a nice crisp result. So again, if you do find it's going a little bit off the straight, which it was then, you can manipulate it, because card is quite flexible to a point. Alright, so this is making our first little box section. Can you see that? So that's your first piece. The second piece, I can find it, is 5 inches by 3 inches, and you're going to score it on the long side at 3.25 inches and at 4.5 inches. So it measures 5 inches by 3 inches, and you're going to score on the 5-inch side at 3.25 and 4.5. And that's it. That's all the measuring and cutting that you need to do. And the same thing, we're going to fold and burnish the creases on each of these little sections. Okay, so now we've got this sort of funny little piece, and the way this goes together, this forms a box, and then that sits on it like that. So these two sections need to measure the same, and apart from that you can alter the size of this to whatever size you like. Alright, so that's the basic construction of the card. Now I have already started to mat some of the pieces together on here. So I'm using the steel grey cardstock onto the blue dusk, and I've cut them to fit the panels. So that is the third panel, and when we form the box, what have I done? I've gone the wrong way, hang on. Right. Yes I have, I've done something silly here. Right, it needs to go that way. I've put my piece of card on the wrong side. Whoops. That goes like that. So what you do is fold your box up first, and then you fit this piece to what's left exposed. So just pretend that that piece of grey card is on that side. So actually when you come to glue them on, they're on opposite sides, so that's it's worth knowing about. And then how do you get this accurately in place? That's where we want it to be. So what you do is you fold it flat. So you tuck under the small fold and the next fold to there, and you press it flat. So then you can put your glue on this edge. Alright, and then fold that right over, and then we can press that into place. Just give it time to grab. If you can get something in there just to press it down. Make sure it's really well stuck. And now we've got our little pop-up box section. You see that? And it's stuck there. And it fits just up to where I've got my grey panel. I don't want to open it out because that glue's still setting. So while we're working on that, we'll have a look at this bit. So how do we position this bit? Well, again, what we're going to do is fold it flat with just that little cuff folded in. We're going to put the card flat, so we're going to push our box down, and we're going to position this, fold it on that fold, that's right, and then line up these two edges. So this then sits onto the box. So you're lining up these two edges, but when you turn this over, this is where you put in the glue. Don't put glue on that bit, just on that bit. Okay? So it's really easy to assemble because you just fold all the sections flat and push them into place. And if you want to have a go at this card, obviously you can watch the live back and have a look at the measurements and stuff like that if you want to. Alright, so I've got that now in place. Just grab some tissue. A bit of a squeezy blob coming out there, we don't want that. Now this one, you can open it up once you've got it in position, and then you can really give it a good press. Make sure it's stuck really, really well. There we are. So I'll just go through that again. When you get your box shape like this, put glue on this edge, fold it all the way from the second fold from the long section of the card. Okay, and then you'll glue that little edge in place there like that. And then that pops up to make your box like this. And then for your second piece, you're going to fold it on the second fold. So you've got your little section that you're going to glue, and you've got your next panel. You're going to press this flat on its second crease. So that'll be glued down. And then you push it down like that. You line up these two edges and you just put your glue down there. Let that set. Okay. And you can keep checking the folds are flexible. And then all you need to do then is attach that onto there. Now you can do it while it's flat. It's the best way to do it to get it all nice and accurate. But remember that you only need glue on the very end of this. Or you can use tape as well, but I always find glue. When you've got cards like this where it's under stress or under duress, as we'd say, it's better to use a wet glue. You get a much stronger bond. Alright, so make sure everything's nice and flat when you're putting it together like this. Just hold and let that glue set up, and then you can start to add your panels. Now obviously I messed up and didn't put my panel on there. You should put it on before you assemble this part because it needs to go behind that, but I'm going to leave it off on this occasion. But if you look at my original one, you can see I've put both layers, so your mats and layers need to go on there first, and they also need to go on there first. Okay, then that's your construction. So now we've got this lovely little clever fold, and it can stand upright that way. This can be the bottom, or this can be the bottom, and it folds down into an A2 envelope. Isn't that lovely? So then, when you haven't messed up like me, I've used the circuit board and I've stamped it and embossed it with silver powder, and that piece should have gone behind there. This piece is going to go on here, so I'm going to go ahead and carry on with that piece, and that piece was going to go on there. Tell I'm not with it tonight. I should have given up. Should have given up after the last one, shouldn't I? Never mind. I could probably get that off if I try hard enough. So again, what's great is you can pop it flat while you stick all your bits and pieces on as well. It's really easy to use. It looks like it's going to be really unwieldy because there's, you know, bits sticking up here, there and everywhere, but actually you just push it all nice and flat and then press things into place. I am going to see if I can just get that off. No, it's going to make a mess. No, I'll leave it. But I would do, I'd take it off and then I'd put my piece underneath and do it properly. Sorry about that, folks. Can't get the stuff. Right, so now we just need to decorate, and I've used the Space Raider machine, which I've stamped on the same blue card, so I didn't need to colour all the sides of it, and just coloured in the detail. And to do that, I've used a combination of brush pens, water brush pens, so watercolour ink, and Jelly Roll Stardust, which have got a lovely sparkle to them. And I've added in a sparkly red edge around here, sparkly buttons and things like that, and then the rest done in flat colour. It's absolutely gorgeous, isn't it? And that's just going to sit on the front like so. And then I've stamped a couple of the sentiments, Game On, and that funny little sort of Pac-Man face. Hang on, I'm doing it wrong way around now. That's going there. Could do it that way, and absolutely no reason why not. Change where you put things, but I'm going to do it this way. So we'll have the machine like so, at a bit of an angle, Game On, level up, and that's sort of it. Let's quickly move on to the one I've done earlier. That's correct. So it's good that I've shown you what not to do, at least, isn't it? So put your panel on there before you attach this, put your panel on there before you attach this, and then put your panel on that one. But isn't that cool? I love this, and I've got all sorts of ideas buzzing around my head, because I think as well, I haven't tried it yet, but I reckon you could sit this on the front of a bigger card and have a pop-up element on a, you know, have a bigger card around it. But I don't know if it might fall over. I'd have to try it. But certainly that way you could have a bigger card going around it. But I just think it's really cute, and you could do all sorts with it, couldn't you? So there you go. Sorry I made a mess of that. I'm ready for my bed, if I'm being honest. So I hope you've enjoyed that, and let me just refresh you with the list of stockists and then I'll let you go. So these are the people who have, certainly the masculine collection, they've ordered and had it in stock. It sounds like some of them have already sold out, so that's, and it's not good news for you, but it's lovely for us to know that it's been so well received. So thank you, all of you who have been buying and supporting with any of our collections, but this one obviously being the latest one. So let me reiterate, we have Into Craft, Craft, Gillies Crafts, Affordable Crafting, Cheshire Crafts, Dragon's Paper Crafts, Hazel's Crafts, Glitter Bits Crafts and Gifts, Unicorn Crafts, The Craft Box, Craft Mania, Craft Bliss, and The Stamp Hut, and of course Hobby Maker, although it sounds like they've sold out for a few of them as well. So track down what you need. If you can't find anything, if people have sold out, get in touch with me, and I can order them in for my shop, and you'll be able to get them from me. But do try your local stockists and support them first. If I'm your local stockist, tough, I haven't got them yet. Sorry. All right. Well, that's been a bit different, hasn't it, tonight? I hope you've enjoyed it. On Monday, Jamie, I believe, is doing a sneaky peek, and I personally cannot wait. I can't tell you anything. I daren't tell you anything. It's a brand new brand within the Creative Expressions house. We're having a new room, and there's a new brand in there. So don't miss that one. I think you're going to be, yeah, mesmerised. He's going on Hobby Maker with that on the 29th, I think. He'll let me know if that's wrong. All right, and then I'm back on Hobby Maker on the 4th of December with a new Sue Wilson release, and I'm not going to tell you just yet what that is, because next Thursday I will be doing a sneaky peek. So hopefully you can join me for that. In the meantime, thank you very, very much for your company. You've all been lovely, and take care of each other. Take care of yourselves. Lots of love. Bye.